We have attendees pouring in. Please say hello in chat. Make sure that you can see us, hear us fine. Hello, everyone. Lots of people joining. That's amazing. Right, I'm saying hello from Poland. Where are you guys coming from? Pennsylvania, seeing Australia, Italy, India, USA, so many different places. It's really cool. Lebanon, Nigeria, amazing. We're so happy to be hosting you today. I will get us started. We still have people pouring in, so we'll start a little slower to just let everyone join. My name is Marta. I am the head of content engineering at TryHackMe. I'll be co-hosting today. I'll get us started and then I'll hand it over to our presenter for the day, who's a senior content engineer on the team. Aris, do you want to say hello?
Yes, hi everyone.
Cool. We'll get started with a little bit of a survey. This is super easy. It is going to help us learn a little bit more about you. We want to make this a little interactive. So if you can go to menti.com, you have the address here at the top, and you enter this code. It's gonna allow you to vote in our survey. And you can tell us a little bit about what your role is. We're super interested, and it's going to help Aris adjust how we run the presentation as well. It's going to be really interesting. I'm going to send a link in chat, and yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat. All right, we see some votes pouring in. We have lots of students. We have pen testers, red teamers. I see a lot of other votes. Can we have some chat representation? Who's other? Oh, we have CTOs. Okay. Oh, a career changer. That's amazing. Data engineers, software engineers, mechanical engineers. Amazing. Military. Okay. Cool stuff. Lots of interest in the topic, so not surprising, but really insightful. Thank you all for sharing. All right, we want to learn more. So looking further, which AI platforms or tools have you used? So in this one, you have 100 points, and you have to assign the points between all of the different services. So it's going to show us a cross-section between all of the different tools. We have a tool agnostic presentation for you today, but again, it's useful to know what you've used before. Okay, GPT-4, perhaps not surprisingly at the top. Yeah, Chat GPT Copilot. All right. And yeah, we still have some others. So if you have anything other, perhaps Cursor or the new like Bolt or anything like that. A local LLM, that's fancy, that's fine. DeepSeek, yeah. I'll drop the link. Perplexity, cool. Nice. Thank you all for sharing ChatGPT, about 50 points and far ahead of everyone else. Last questions. In what ways have you applied AI tools? This is you rank it from first to last, and we purposefully kept these very broad, so not security specific, so that if we have people who haven't done offensive operations before, they don't feel left out. So I see resume refresh. That would be content drafting, I think. Decision support, operations. Yeah. The link is menti.com. Yeah. All right. Lots of different uses. All right. Research and info gathering, first place. And then we have coding or software development, ideation, content drafting, and decision support. All right, makes sense. I think we're now ready to get started. Aris, over to you. We're gonna switch screen and we're gonna get going. I'm gonna be in chat answering questions, gathering questions for the Q&A later, and running the operations. All right, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Martha. So, hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. So for today, I'll be presenting boosting offensive operations with AI. So my name is Aris. I'm also known as Arizi. I'm not sure if you've seen some of my rooms at Hack Me. And yeah, let's start. So for a quick introduction, as I've mentioned, my name is Aris. I've been with Hack Me for almost, I think, 3 years now. I started as a blue team content engineer, and right now I've been luckily promoted as a senior content engineer, focusing on blue team content and CTFs. So I hope you've played some of my rooms. Try hack me. So aside from that, I'm also working as a manager for red team operations and a cybersecurity company here in my country. And just wanted to share, but even though I'm a red teamer, I transitioned from being a blue teamer. So if you're currently a blue teamer, a red teamer, it's a good opportunity to have or transition to any field in within cyber to broaden your skill set. So now for the agenda, I'll be talking about mostly AI and how can we apply AI and offensive security. So here's a quick agenda. We'll run through this one by one. So for the first part, AI in a nutshell. So I think this is the two.
Aris, you need to share your screen. We cannot see your screen yet.
Oh no,
Okay, yeah, just fix it.
let's fix.
Oh, you guys can see it. Oh, this is just me, maybe. All
Okay,
right, we can see it. Okay, cool. Sorry.
let's check. Can you guys see the agenda? AI in a nutshell. Yes, all good. Okay. So now let's go back to the two key terms that are usually used in a typical day in the internet. So first is AI. So AI is just a abbreviation of artificial intelligence. So it's the broader or the umbrella term. So it's a broad field that focuses on creating systems that mimic the human intelligence. And for AI developers, their goal is to be at least closest as possible to a human mind. And for LLM, it's just a subset of AI which focuses on parsing and understanding human-like language. So if you're chatting to a bot, it's mostly being handled by a large language model. And if you're thinking for chats, it's only limited to languages, right? But for some platforms, they have capabilities to parse images or parse voice. And for this, it's being called, they have a multimodal model wherein additional models are being integrated in the platform. So just to give you an idea of how those chat GPTs or other platforms work. So now let's go to uh, a quick run through of famous LLMs. We have already asked you some surveys, so here are the common LLMs are being used and by most of people nowadays. And according to them, I asked them all and tried to see who are the famous based on their based on them. And according to these platforms, here's the top five. So as you can see, the most common one, even though ChatGPT is carrying himself. ChatGPT is the most prominent one are being mentioned in all the platforms. So basically, also aligned with our survey, ChatGPT is the most common one that is being used. And of course, I believe the next one is Gemini. But of course, we can't rely on what is being said by these platforms. Nowadays, it's really fast, and AIs and LLMs have been really improving fast. So they have now offering a lot of models. And like, for example, in GPT, they have 4.0, 4.0 Mini, 4.0 Canvas. So they are really improving their models in order to cater what you need. So I won't recommend sticking into one. You need to learn what platform really gives you the best optimal way uh, of using AI. So, but yeah, we're not focusing on drilling down on all the platforms for this talk. We will use a specific one. But first, let's talk about how threat actors leverage AI. So, here is a screenshot of some threat groups from the past. As you can see, the images. Okay, voice is very low. I'll try to to speak louder. So from the past, as you can see, these threat actors doesn't have really a great writing capabilities. I don't know. I haven't seen a good screenshot of the Nigerian prince, but as you guys remember, the Nigerian prince is not a really well written phishing email. But nowadays, with the power of AI, they are now improving. So as you can see here in the screenshot, this is not, of course, the best or something that is really a good example. But if we will just compare how the message is being written, uh, you can see that the message and the tone is really well written. And at the same time, the formatting has improved. So this is one of the key powers that is being abused by threat actors nowadays is the usage of AI for creating phishing emails. Aside from that, aside from phishing emails, there are a lot of noise nowadays wherein uh, deepfake is being utilized by threat actors for scams and threat for scams or attacks. So here's an example of one successful attack wherein it impacted the victim 25 million by just using a deepfake scam. So it's really hard to tell nowadays, and it's really scary to think about it. Now that people or threat actor can use deepfakes to mimic your voice or mimic your image or a video call. So yeah, it's one of the common examples nowadays of usage of AI by threat actors. Another one is this one is creation of malware. So for social engineering campaigns, they also use weaponized malware with the use of AI. And some examples that have been seen is that people or will these threat groups don't delete the comments, and it's one of the common things that indicates that it's being generated by AI. So when you use Chat GPT, if you have generated a source code, you might have observed that uh, these LLMs are very generous when describing the source code. They don't just do good variable naming conventions, but at the same time they comment from every level just to showcase the how the source code works. Now, aside from phishing or social engineering attempts, nowadays, it's not just redactors not just use that in initial access attempts, but also on the full scale attack. So here's an article from Google. They have studied the usage of Gemini from different countries, and they have observed that some state-sponsored threat actors are using Gemini for their attacks. And basically, since these threat actors are using their platform, they're able to study what they are doing within the platform to abuse it and use it for hacking purposes. So here are some examples of how they leverage AI. So for reconnaissance, they are using the platform to gather information about the targets on some other countries. And for weaponization, they develop their tools by using AI to automate and create their tooling. And for the delivery, they also use AI to create a good content that is effective for phishing. So now, what's my point of sharing this? So it's been a while that people nowadays have been using AI, threat actors have been using AI. So why do we let threat actors have all the fun for AI? So if they can do it, we should also do it. But of course, we should not do what threat actors do by just doing or using it in a malicious intent. But we should use it to improve ourselves and make us become an effective offensive security engineers or cybersecurity practitioners. So now, let's run through some real-world offensive security use cases. So before we start or before we get started, a quick disclaimer. This presentation is intended solely for educational and ethical purposes. So any tools, techniques, or examples demonstrated here are meant to help you to understand and defend against real-world attacks. So we're not teaching you to be a threat actor. And as just like what you learned from Try Hack Me, all these are for ethical purposes and for self-improvement of your personal cybersecurity career. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of agreements. Thank you very much. Pinky promise. Thank you very much. Okay, so now let's play with Chat GPT like an APT. I like this rhyme. So here's our agenda for today when playing with GPT. First, just like a threat actor, threat actors or these threat groups build their infrastructure, and next they craft their phishing emails, just like what I've shown a while ago. And lastly, we'll show some use cases on how to create attachments or payloads. But of course, all these are for learning purposes only. Do not use this knowledge for any ill intent. I've been mentioning that and I'll mention that until the end of the presentation. So now let's start with an infrastructure. So for a phishing infrastructure, what you need is of course an email infrastructure that gives you a capability to send email, obviously. And now with ChatGPT, I asked GPT, which is the platform that I mainly use for this presentation, to help me build an email infrastructure. So luckily, ChatGPT just helped me without seeing any ill intent of what I'm doing. So imagine if I'm a threat actor and I just ask something like a prompt like this, and the threat actor, without even knowledge at first on how to build an infrastructure, can learn it immediately. So that's really a bad practice, but at the same time, it's really helpful for us practitioners to learn something like this. So for this, it's really a good output. It already gave you some suggested services that you can use for SMTP. So you can use Amazon SES simple email service for sending email. You can use Mailgun, SendGrid, Postfix. So aside from suggesting what components you need to build, it also suggests what service you can avail in order to in order to do the service or to do the phishing to do the email, not phishing, to do the email sending. So as you can see here, all the components are well written. At the same time, uh, it provides you a Terraform script. So a Terraform script is just a tool for people who are not familiar with Terraform. It's a tool that allows you to automate infrastructure. It's mainly used for building infrastructure, and it is typically called infrastructure as a code. So instead of manually doing an infrastructure by hand, which has been a nightmare for sysads from the past. Nowadays, you can just write a code and run it on your own so that you can do and reproduce your infrastructure even without sweating. So once you have a code, you can just run it again and again, and you will have your infrastructure. So here's an example of a Terraform script. It's written in Terraform. You can see the provider's AWS. So this one is intended for building structure and infrastructure in AWS. So I want to deep dive on the content since that's not the part of the discussion. But now that we have from the previous prompt, we already have a capability to send email by using either AWS, Mailgun. So now we're asking ChatGPT to help us set up GoFish. So GoFish is a framework that allows you to easily send emails. So it's basically for penetration testing purposes of sending phishing emails, but at the same time, it's being leveraged by threat actors. And threat actors love GoFish since it's very easy to use. At the same time, it allows you to send bulk emails easily once you integrate everything. So now I have asked GPT to help me create the GoFish server. So with this, it just gave me okay. So yes, for the goldfish, I think I missed the slide, but this one is for the Terraform scripts a while ago. Uh, okay, so yeah, I missed some slides. So for the goldfish, here's the example of the script. So as you can see, this is a bash script that allows you to automate the creation from updating the packages to installing the actual goldfish repository from GitHub. And eventually it allows you to run and set up everything. So now we have the second step, which is Go Fish. Once we have Go Fish and sending capability from a email sending provider, we already have two components that are very significant in being an attacker. So now the next step is crafting a phishing email. So when doing phishing emails, threat actors nowadays just don't ask Chat GPT to create a phishing email. You can ask GPT to just to create a sample email with an intent of a safe thing. Like for example, you intend to use the email for marketing purposes. You wanted to use the email to send an email to your boss. So you can just ask GPT to do that. You don't need to ask GPT to intentionally say create a phishing email, since I believe sometimes ChatGPT blocks you from doing unethical things. But at the same time, there are a lot of ways to bypass it, but it's not part of this talk since it's on the borderline of unethical usage of ChatGPT. But uh, now here's the example prompt. So let's say the scenario of participating to bidding for a third party service provider. So our goal right here is to create an email that we want to present a document for an RFP bidding. And here is the prompt. So as you can see, it is a little bit well written. There might be some placeholders that can be replaced, but at the same time, it's just easy to clean up, unlike writing it from scratch. So another thing is you can ask GPT to put it in an HTML format. So when writing a code or in setting setting up GoFish, you have two options. One is you can put a plain text email, or you can use HTML for styling purposes. And nowadays, threat actors leverage the same thing. They use HTML in order to make a good presentable email. So here's what it looks like based on the prompt that I used. So as you can see, it's really a little bit presentable, and it looks good. So now, the last part. It's yes, it's this one. I think my slides are bugging, but the next part is creating attachments or payloads. Okay, so yeah, I think my slides were messed up a little bit, but here is the prompt for drafting a weaponized payload. So imagine you have in our story a while ago, we want to present a bid for a company that asks for a third party service, and we are sending them our initial portfolio, and that portfolio can be something malicious like an LNK or a shortcut file that is encrypted in a zip file. So this one is a typical payload used by attackers. So they encrypt the malware within a zip file so that when emails are being scanned, it bypasses some email controls because it can't see whether the contents are malicious because it's encrypted. So here is a sample of the prompt. So by using by using this prompt, you can see this Python script. So this Python script easily allows you to create a shortcut file. It zips the payload afterwards with a password, and you can see that you can customize the payload with a binary to run once executed. So by just a single prompt, you already have a working malware, but of course you still need to test it. But when we compare the ease of work versus the work that we need to do before without having GPT, you really need to learn how to write Python. You need to learn how Windows system internals work, how binaries work, in order to have a working payload. So aside from all those malicious activities that an attacker can do, we can also use Chat GPT or LLMs or AIs to create our own tooling. So for example, you are not happy with Nmap or any port scanning tool that you have on your arsenal. You can just ask Chat GPT to create your own, or if you want to create a lightweight or a faster one, you can ask GPT. And the best part here is it suggests the best language for a fast port scanning. So here the best overall is Rust, which I believe a reason why Rust scan is one of the prominent tools compared to Nmap in terms of port scanning. So another example is if you are doing a bug bounty, for example, and you are given a domain as part of the scope, and you want to create a tool that allows you to enumerate all publicly available subdomains. So I also asked Chat GPT to generate a code for me or a tool for me, and aside from generating the tool, the good thing here is it explained what it really does first. So here the tool relies on public sources like CertSH, which is about certificate transparency reports, alien vault records, and of course it cleans and the duplicate results and it saves to a file. And with that, easily allows you to enumerate the subdomains that can be attacked during a bug bounty attempt. So here is the tool example. It's written again in Python. So I believe if you don't mention anything to ChatGPT, most of the time it will give you a Python script since it's the most and easiest way to run a script. Most of the time it is well, for Linux machines it is built in there, but for Windows I don't think so. So you need to install. So before we proceed to the next part, any questions? I think we can entertain 1 to 2 questions, Martha.
Yep, I've been looking at the Q&A, haven't seen anything big there. So if anyone has a quick question, just please type in chat and Iris will catch it. Iris, are you AI generated? We need to
Yeah,
clear this
yeah,
up
yeah.
right
That,
now.
that's the first message I saw. It's really hard to see here. Okay, let's try looking for one. Okay, so
Someone's,
I've seen an
go ahead.
interesting question. It's about, couldn't you just use Subfinder? So Subfinder is a known subdomain enumeration tool. So, well, first of all, this is just an example of how to use AI, but at the same time, this one uh, I believe if you can rely, of course, on built-in tools since they will not be famous if they are not reliable. But at the same time, if it lacks some capabilities, like for example, if Subfinder only uses uh actually, I don't remember what it can do, but if, for example, if it only relies on a word list and it does not rely on certificate transparency reports or it does not use an online database, then it lacks something. So with that, when you observe something like that, can rely on AI on how you can augment your methodology and build something that can support the tools that you have already been using. Okay, so another question.
We had a Q&A question. Someone was asking if you think that there are AI uses that will help with bypasses, so EDR and XDR bypasses. Have you tried it in your practice?
Yes, yes. Actually, I've tried it. Well, I think it depends on the mindset on how you create the malware. Nowadays, people sometimes, well, most of the fancy techniques when building or when building a malware are kind of novel since they are leveraging or studying the in-depth or in-depth Windows internals. So they use API calls just to trick EDRs to how do I say this to uh to not show any malicious activity when doing the API call chain. However, you don't sometimes you don't need to overthink things. You can just sometimes pretend to be like a binary that is not malicious. Like for example, instead of using direct API calls or doing some fancy known techniques that some EDRs already have as a signature, you can just ask Chat GPT and do a basic simple program that, like for example, it uses a local web server and asks for for a payload, for a request, and the request will execute like an OS command. And sometimes, based on my experience, it works on some EDRs. So with just small functionality of code execution, by just leveraging the modules of an existing tool or existing language, it sometimes works. So you don't need to overcomplicate using or creating payloads on uh, bypassing EDR. And GPT, of course, or AI can help. Mm, I think we can skip now and just proceed to the next part. And I'll entertain another set of questions later. Okay, so for the next part, this is just about how you can leverage AI when skill building. So from my previous examples, it is mostly focused on leveraging what you already know and just asking AI to do things for yourself. So instead of writing things, writing source code, you can just AI to automate it for you. But for this, we would like to teach this approach of using AI to upskill yourself. So for the first part is using AI to build your methodology. So I believe there are a lot of resources nowadays, for example, for doing bug bounties, in order to find a web vulnerability or mobile vulnerability. But if you're being overwhelmed by a lot of information, you can just use AI to be your buddy and just ask AI to build your simple methodology. So it's really hard to get started with an overwhelming list of steps to do when doing penetration test, for example. You can just use AI to give you the easy steps first before doing the more advanced or technical ones. So here is an example of a prompt. So I asked GPT to create a good methodology for doing bug bounty. And given a domain, which is a typical thing that is given for bug bounties, how should I start doing bug bounty? So it gave me this. So it asked me to prepare my environment at first, which is a good step since sometimes it's really good to have a good set of tools for you to be able to do consistent methodology. So once you have set up your environment, you can just do the next steps by using the tools that is being suggested by GPT. So here for subdomain enumeration, yes, Subfinder, as mentioned in chat, is being mentioned, AMAS, DNS, Sublister, Shodan, Census. So these are being mentioned by AI, which here is another good example. It gives you the exact command, and you can just replace the domain so that you can get the output. So here, aside from suggesting you what tools that are good to use, it also gives you the commands that can be used. And on some methodologies that are published on the internet, it's always the same thing. They provide you what steps can be done, at the same time what commands can be used. So I believe it's a good approach of Chat GPT providing you these steps. Okay, so I got distracted. I saw a good question. What version of GPT is used for the prompts? So I forgot to mention the exact version a while ago. I just mentioned ChatGPT, but I've been using for this presentation, I only used GPT 4.0. Okay, so for the next part, let's say you have a methodology, you need a methodology for an assume breach testing. So assume breach testing is a type of penetration test wherein you're provided an initial access to the machine or to a network. It's called an assume breach since it simulates the idea of an attacker is already inside your machine and or your network, and you just need to continue what the attacker can do inside. So let's say that is a scenario. So we can just ask GPT to give us some pointers on how we should start the test from a normal domain user. So uh, as an output, it gave you uh, some key pointers that are very significant. So your goal here, once you're starting your activity, your goal is to enumerate, persist, and escalate your access within the Active Directory environment while maintaining stealth. So this one is just a bonus. If you're doing a pen test, you don't need to be super stealthy, but of course, don't break things. But for a red teamer, this is a very good tip. So for assume breach setup, it provides you good set of commands that I believe is okay to do. Uh, although it's not a really comprehensive set of commands, but for me, it's a good starting point. There are a lot of resources online that can do better, but for me, using AI, if you wanted to just get started, you can you can do things within the internal network when doing a pen test. So now another thing when doing or using AI is by having a Q&A buddy. So with your initial findings, but of course, before I start with this one, the most important part here in doing AI is to not leak or feed any sensitive information. So when doing these prompts, of course, do not put anything sensitive from either the client that you're handling or your own personal information. So with this, our prompts are only limited to the initial findings that we want to do. So for example, you are doing a penetration test and you have a port scan result and you only discovered open port 445. So you're asking GPT now, what can you do next? And what could be some good instructions that can be done for based on this finding. So for this, it immediately explained that port 445 is SMB and it is critical service for Windows environments. And with this, it provided you first an nmap scan command, which allows you to enumerate the version of the SMB service running, and another set of commands that allows you to enumerate the shares. And lastly, here's another example. So the example a while ago is mostly about about internal network testing, but now this is about web. So for example, you have discovered a possible local file inclusion, and you're asking GPT to share you some payloads. There are a lot of resources online like payload all the things, but if you just want to have someone to talk to, since if you have a list online and you can just use it afterwards, you won't have any idea what to do next if you don't have anyone to discuss the finding. So with this, if you're talking to Chat GPT, you can just first uh, discuss or ask for the possible LFI payloads and at the same time use it and test it. And after that, you can ask another prompt to follow up what can be done next. So I think that is the end of the slide. So uh, okay, I believe just right in time. Uh,
Yeah, we're gonna take a couple more questions, everyone. So please post in chat. I will address some of the ones that were most common. First, yes, the recording will be shared after. Second, yes, we are working on some content for Try Hack Me rooms on AI in general. So look out, there's both blue and red coming up. And finally, for anyone who wants to chat about any cybersecurity topics, I would highly recommend you join our Discord. There's a lot of like-minded people there that can help you with your career. To get us started with questions, I saw an interesting one, Aras, so I'll just pick one to get started. The question was, in your experience, because you have both blue and red, um, which side has more ROI currently for AI? So which side can benefit more, blue or red?
It's a hard question. I mean, if we are talking about personal usage or personal growth, I see a lot of uses for red teaming since well, that's for my personal take when using AI. But if you're building a team, I believe and you want to do automations, you want to rely on AI to speed up the processing of investigations. And I believe for a bigger scale, it's more useful for Blue Team. Because I believe if you integrate AI with uh, all, for example, all the logs, all the investigations, all the alerts that you've been generating, it really speeds up a lot of work. You don't need to spend a lot. Well, you still need to monitor, I guess, for a 24/7 SOC monitoring, but it lessens the workload of the employees of the analysts if it can provide like an initial triaging summary of what the alert could be. I believe that that's way significant in terms of cost versus just asking AI to explain what the sport means or what could be the findings from a red teaming perspective. I believe it's more beneficial for blue team when you think of bigger scale.
Oh, we have another one from Jonathan, who's
Yes.
been very active in chat. Thank you, Jonathan, for being so helpful. But in your experience, Aris, using AI, do you have a favorite moment or a story to share that you can share? Maybe without details.
uh, I guess well I believe something funny that I can share is uh sometimes a GPT is very annoying. Or maybe it's one of my favorite moments is uh sometimes when you want to ask AI to speed things up, sometimes it messes you up more. Like if it gives you a code that that you expect to run immediately, but at the same time, it makes you the one debug it instead of AI. So, like for example, it gave you like five functions, and the single function out of the five is faulty. And at, when you ask AI, do you think this is the section that is faulty? And AI will tell, oh, you're right. Thank you for catching up. So I think those are the funny moments when I've been using AI. The ones that when AI can sometimes can't think of the parts that it's faulty unless you mention it. And of course, it's one of the key lessons when using AI. Don't fully rely on the output of AI. Of course, you still need to validate it at your own on your own so that you can make it you can utilize it fully effectively.
Okay, and maybe last one we had that we're gonna talk about is where did you see most impact on your work, like positive impact, where it's made you more efficient or speedier at doing stuff? Which use case?
Okay, so based on even on the survey a while ago, I believe AI definitely helps me on doing proof of concepts, since sometimes it's really hard to read a lot of documentations. Before AI, when I'm doing or writing my own malware, I really need to read a lot of documentations or books just to make a single malware work. But nowadays, you just want at first to have a working proof of concept, and at the end of the day, you can just improve it. So we're having just single win of having just source code that is working. It's really something that makes me believe that AI can be reliable in the future.
Awesome. Yeah. We've had a question about whether we use AI to work at TryHackMe, and as as the person that wrote the policy, I can say yes, we have a policy on acceptable uses for TryHackMe. And it's basically you won't see AI generated content, so everything that is written and taught is written by a human, but we use AI to speed our work quite a bit. And it's actually been a really interesting experience to make sure that we still deliver cool stuff as fast as possible. All right. I think we are going to close this here. Thank you all so much. For those of you who took part in our Menti before, if you can go back to the screen, there is a survey at the slide. I'm going to just quickly show it. If you can leave a vote there on how useful this was for you, that would be amazing. We'd appreciate it so much if you let us know if this was good for you, if you found some value. And we'll see you next time. There's going to be more coming. Thank you all so much for joining us here and listening to our talk. We'll talk to you later. All right. Bye-bye.